What's going on, folks, and welcome to Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel. I'm Callihan Nitro, and here is my take, Nitro's take, on SLAMMIVERSARY 16. Yes, it took place on July 22nd, 2018 from the Rebel Entertainment Complex in Toronto, Ontario. And here are my thoughts on what I thought was a pretty stellar card. I'll go ahead and say it right here now. If you're looking for a negative review of the card from me, you're not going to get it here. I really enjoyed this one, so here are my thoughts. The opening contest was the Fatal 4-Way with the returning Johnny Impact as he took on Bone Soldier Ishimori of the Bullet Club, Petey Williams, who was filling in for an injured Rich Swann, and Phoenix in a Fatal 4-Way match. Petey Williams was the first person announced, and of course, being in Toronto, they played the old Team Canada music. He walked out, huge pop. Everybody loves Petey in that part of the country. Maple Leaf Muscle is still over like Rover over there. And it was good to see him again, for sure. I think that's, was he on the last one? I'm trying to remember. Yes, he was. I think it's 3 straight Impact Wrestling pay-per-views that I've watched that he's been on. So good to see him make a little bit of a resurgence here in 2017, 2018. Maple Leaf Muscle is back, baby. Of course, Johnny Impact got the pinfall victory with Starship Pain on Phoenix, but it was a hot match, and everybody showcased their best throughout this match. Ishimori was over big as well, and just great action from bell to bell. It's a solid 15, 16-minute match, 20 with entrances, and it was one of my favorite bits of the show was the opening bit. So beyond that opening video, that was awesome because they brought back the old "This is TNA" voiceover guy from last decade or so to narrate the package. It was good. I really enjoyed that opening contest. I loved it. Next matchup was Tessa Blanchard versus Aries. Tessa Blanchard got the win in that one. She won with her hammerlock DDT finish. It looked like that Aries earlier on in the match was going to get the win with her version of the Code Breaker, but Tessa rolled out to the outside and escaped the pinfall via that way. It was one of my picks for match of the night because both girls, there was shades of Gail Kim versus Taryn Terrell. There was shades of what they're doing over in NXT right now with the girls and that stuff, and what they were doing years ago with Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair and that stuff in that contest. It was a very NXT takeover-esque type match between both girls, and solid contest. I actually liked it more than the Knockouts title match later on in the card, so this one was good. The match I really didn't care for on this card was up next. Eddie Edwards versus Tommy Dreamer, and Edwards got the win eventually by using his finish, the Boston Knee Party, by placing a chair prior to that on Dreamer's head and then doing the Boston Knee Party on Dreamer with the chair. It's the whole thing, the whole heel Eddie after the whole Sami Callihan, Eddie Edwards thing has been kind of more of a miss in my mind. It's just not clicking anything for myself. That being said, the Live House seemed to love it and was very into the match. It felt like a early 2000s WWE hardcore type thing, and then there were elements of true hardcore wrestling in there too, where we had staples in Edwards' head and stuff going forward to begin with. So it started as like WWE hardcore from like the early 2000s, and then quickly progressed on as the match continued to actual like old school ECW hardcore. So it was, it did the job. It's always good to get a legend in for a bit of a rub, and they were doing it was to showcase the agreement a little bit with House Hardcore as well, and I have no issue with that. I just thought it was the weakest match of the card. Maybe 10 years ago I would have thought it was the coolest match on the card, but now, as you get older, tastes change. So even though I'm repping the old ECW shirt tonight in this review. And that one, it's more of a miss on my mind. But, you know, still happy I saw it. So, had that going for it. X Division title up next, and this match was awesome as well. It was Brian Cage, the challenger, taking on Matt Sydal, the champion. Brian Cage ended up winning the X Division title, and I think he's going to be a very dominant champion with that belt going forward. So Brian Cage landed his drill claw finish for the win, and man, to look at him now as the X Division champion for Impact, it's got to be, I think they're looking at having a powerhouse champion that can wrestle kind of the junior heavyweight style a little bit and take on some of these stud junior heavyweights that Impact seems to be getting, whether it's either from Mexico or you saw in the opening match. Ishimori was on the card. There's a guy who was the finalist in the Battle of Super Juniors with Hiromu, you know, a few months back and that stuff. And that's the thing, is that it's going forward. That style, I think, is going to be relevant in that division, as it always has been, but I think it's going to be more so with D'Amore and Callis at the helm. So I thought it was an okay match. It wasn't a match of the night contender in my mind, but it was neat to see the title change, and the fact that I am a Brian Cage fan as well makes it awesome. So good for him going forward, and great match from both of them actually. I'll upgrade it from okay. It was a good match. It was a great match. So next match, Knockouts title, Soojung, the champion, taking on Madison, Rayne, the challenger. Had a lot of neat imagery leading up to this. I was watching the free-for-all before the card started, and a lot of production and promos and that stuff leading up to this. It was very reminiscent of like the Broken Hardys versus Decay feud from a few years ago. So I think that's what they're trying to do, is with this whole Soojung thing with the Knockouts division, kind of go that route, the weird route, which slip of the tongue again, Impact loves to do going forward. So the finish was Madison was going for her cross-rein maneuver. Her finish when Soojung shoved her hand down Madison's throat. Sue's been using a variation of the mandible claw in Impact since her debut, and it's gone over huge as the submission / knockout finish. Obviously, very reminiscent of Mankind from 1996. From 96 WWF. I was thinking if there was another year there, but no, pretty much 1996 WWF with the feud with The Undertaker and that stuff. After the match, they grabbed Madison's carcass, I guess, and dumped her off in the coffin and hauled her to the back. So the whole undead thing is stacking a body count now at this point, because now we still haven't seen Rosemary back on Impact Television since Soojung vanquished her into the darkness, and now Madison Rayne as well. So the body count is starting to pile up now, which is the storyline here. And this is very neat. I like this storyline going forward. Another storyline I really liked was this one for the Tag Team Championship. That was between LAX, Santana, and Ortiz with Conan versus the OGs, which was King, Eddie Kingston, Hernandez, and Homicide. And this is something that was teased earlier on, and I was like, are they going to pull the trigger on it? Are they not? And they did, and the entire build for this has been just phenomenal throughout the weeks and that stuff. It's been probably one of my favorite programs that I've seen out of Impact Wrestling since, gosh, the Broken Hardys and the Decay storyline from a few years ago. This thing here was a very entertaining, very rough street fight. There was the use of tacks at one point. Ortiz threw the tacks into Homicide's face, and then he slammed him into them and then hit a splash from the top rope for the win. And so LAX got the win, but then on top of that, right after, the OGs stormed the ring right after, They take out Conan with like a billiard ball, like a gangland sling type thing with billiard balls and a sock or something, and smoked him in the hip. You know, playing off of the psychology of Conan's many hip surgeries he's had and that stuff. And just the negative heat going towards that faction, that three, was just, you know, palatable in that building. It came across great on the TV, so being there live, it had to have been just a huge, just negative pop. You know, it was good. I've loved that street fight. It was out of control. There was a ton of stuff, ton of maneuvers, more ground and pound fighting than anything else in that. And dude, it was a good brawl. Who doesn't like a good brawl, especially in Toronto? They love a good brawl in Toronto. Next match was Pentagon Jr. versus Sami Callihan. This was mask versus hair. If Sami won, Pentagon Jr. would unmask. If Pentagon won, Sami Callihan, though, would part with his hair, i.e. be shaved, which is old wrestling tradition for getting embarrassed at a big card, pretty much. Dates back many, many years, many, many decades. I think historians speak of Gorgeous George, maybe George Hackenschmidt, who weren't the same person, but anyway, regardless. This match here was, for what I thought was a great build, kind of ended up being a little meh towards the middle of it. The start was good, the ending was phenomenal, but it sagged a little bit in the middle. I think just probably because of the nature of the match itself. Again, there was more hardcore into it. There was spikes involved. The Chris brothers came in, who are in on this OVE thing with Sami Callihan, and it was a mixture, I guess, of old school sports entertainment with hardcore thrown into it. Like, it was a weird mixture. It felt like this one just really, to me, kind of butted heads a little bit with the style and that stuff. But Pentagon got the win. He broke a referee's arm earlier on, and so the doubt was there whether there would be a ref to make the call. You know, another ref came in from the back. They finished the match with that. And I think Sami really established himself at the end more as that chicken shit heel, which is a role that he just is probably one of the best in the business right now in playing. And dude rolled out and attempted to run, but Phoenix was standing at the top of the ramp. He chased him back with a bunch of security. Security apprehended the Chris brothers, and we got to see a shaved Sami Callihan. So I assume this Thursday on Impact we'll get a chance to see, for the first time, a shaved Sami Callihan in Impact Wrestling. So, whatever that does for you. And I mean, I don't mean not to sound thrilled at that and that stuff. Just the match itself was very confusing. It was a street fight, but I think they were trying to do a little bit more than a street fight with it. But we had seen just a wild street fight the match before. So just the pacing of having two hardcore style matches, one after another with each other there. Maybe I would have thrown the Knockouts title match in between the two of them, but in the match order. That's just me. I think that was just a little bit too much hardcore for too short amount of time, especially on a pay-per-view like that. But hey, there are smarter minds than me that were booking this show, so that's just one fan's opinion. Finally, we come to the main event, and Austin Aries, the champion, retained his title over Mousse. This match here was a very good example of a very talented smaller guy taking on a large stud athlete, and the type of match you can get when both guys are on, like both guys were on tonight with. And it was, it had a little celebrity involvement. Curtis Granderson from the Blue Jays was the celebrity title holder at what point in the match. there was a situation where I think Aries wanted to use the belt for something, and Anderson jumped up and snagged the belt away from Aries at ringside. He wanted to smoke Mousse with the belt, and Anderson jumped up and snagged the belt back from Aries, which ended up having a very awkward situation at the end of the match when Anderson presented Aries with the belt. Aries was kind of like the pouty kid, is like, give me my belt, and then, you know, pointed to the outside as if to say, like, you out now. So I got my belt, which I laughed. I loved that. That was really funny. It was a pretty good thing. And Anderson himself, I think he got it too, so because he kind of slumped his shoulders and walked away, and that's okay, you know. But it itself was one of the highlights of the night, was that match. I've thought it was a very good match. Like I said, it was fun seeing a very talented smaller wrestler take on, you know, a big stud athlete like Mousse is, that can move around in the ring and that stuff. So great world title match to close off what I thought was a good card. So out of 10, which counts or takes into account, I should say, production, match quality, rewatchability, and that stuff, I'd rewatch this card in a heartbeat. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. I'll put it on par, and I did on Twitter, with the UK special that WWE just wrapped up doing in June, the 2-night UK special. It had that same quality to it. It was a very good showcase card from front to back. I know that there were a lot of major feuds that they were building for a few months that kind of got its vanquished there. Soojung, Madison, Rayne is one, and then I think there's a few more that just escalated a little bit more. I think the nightclub approach, the venue was amazing. I think the nightclub approach for hosting these big events is a awesome niche that they can really exploit, because they have the pay-per-view channels and that stuff to host the events on now. I think it's a no-brainer to bring them into these trendy nightclubs and put your card in there, your pay-per-view, which is what they're doing at the Madison Ballroom in New York on, I think it's October 14th is Bound for Glory this year. So they'll draw. New York wrestling always draws. They'll get a decent crowd for that. And so, hey, Impact Wrestling's on the rebound, guys. And I was arguing with one person online tonight on my Instagram at Callihan Nitro about, and you can look at it under the SLAMMIVERSARY post. He was saying how this company doesn't deserve a second chance. Well, I think, you know, any company deserves a second chance. That's the thing. It's just, how do they decide to use that second chance, right? And this isn't a second chance, obviously, for Impact. This is more like a 7th or 8th or 9th chance, right? But I think now, finally, they have a combination where they have a creative mind that is a little bit more, fan-centric, has his ear to the ground, has relationships with other companies so they can start building partnerships again. Which is one of the great things about classic TNA and classic Impact Wrestling, was all the partnerships that they had with the NWA and so forth, and everything that they could have, these marquee matchups, and bring in these worldwide stars to compete with WWE. And will they ever get on the level to compete with WWE again? I don't think so. Can they be a company like a Ring of Honor, though, that hosts independent supercards once in a while, like SLAMMIVERSARY? Hell yeah, they can, and they proved it tonight. They can do it in a heartbeat, absolutely. And I think this is just the first step. So, anyways, thanks a lot. And again, these are strictly my thoughts. It's not a review show. If you're looking for reviews online, go check out Meltzer, Zonka, guys like that. This is just one fan's opinion of wrestling. And isn't it great? That's what we all come here to do, right? It's just watch other opinions and that stuff, or listen to them, and, you know, just see what it's like. So, anyways, happy wrestling watching later days. I'm Callihan Nitro. We'll see you next time. If you like what I said, if you like anything that I had mentioned and you want to share the video, go right ahead. I would love a subscription definitely subscribe, give it a thumbs up, throw your comments below, and yeah, I'm hooked. I'm gonna definitely be ordering Bound for Glory because there's a lot of storylines here that are continuing through tonight that I want to see the end of. So later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll see you on down the road.